The Canadian Grand Prix saw yet another good weekend out of Lewis Hamilton, and Toto Wolff is now claiming that the Mercedes W14 is catching up to runaway title favorite Max Verstappen in his rocket RB19. That is a bold statement given how far Verstappen usually is from the rest of the drivers once the race ends. So, is there any validity to the team boss's claim? Stay tuned to find out. Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff recently shared that Lewis Hamilton got very close to Max Verstappen during the Canadian Grand Prix, closer than they had anticipated at the beginning of the season. Hamilton's impressive form continued in Montreal, securing back-to-back podium finishes after his second-place achievement at the Spanish Grand Prix. This time, he clinched a solid third place in Canada. Even though Lewis Hamilton managed to overtake Fernando Alonso early in the race, the talented Spaniard fought back fiercely in his Aston Martin, successfully holding off the 7-time world champion until the race concluded. Hamilton eventually finished third, trailing Max Verstappen by a margin of 14 seconds. Toto Wolff sees this time difference as a positive indication that Mercedes is making significant progress and heading in the right direction. After the Canadian Grand Prix, he told the media, "Today's race was an encouraging one for the team. We knew that Canada was going to be one of the more difficult circuits for us, so to come away with a podium is a solid result. We were also not too far away from Max, much closer than we would have expected at the beginning of the season. The margin is still large, so we have lots more work to do. We are on a positive trajectory though, and the update package clearly works well." The W14 may have been speeding on the track during the Canadian Grand Prix, but it still has a few weak points. In a post-race interview with Sky Sports F1, Lewis Hamilton openly discussed the areas where the Mercedes is currently struggling. He shed some light on how Aston Martin's upgrades gave them something to worry about, saying, "The Astons took a little bit of a step this weekend when they added the upgrades, but we are working on bringing some more moving forwards. To just have this consistency and be up on the podium here in Montreal, which is such an incredible city, and we've got such a great crowd here every year without fail, so a big thank you to everyone here." He specifically highlighted the W14's lack of agility in low-speed corners, which posed challenges in keeping up with Alonso during the race. Hamilton said, "We just need to work on the performance of the car, particularly at the rear. That's the biggest weakness, particularly in low speed. I couldn't keep up with those guys. We knew this weekend this wouldn't be our strongest circuit, as we struggle in the lower speed corners particularly, and that's really where I was losing to Fernando and Max, just on traction out of turn 2, and pretty much every corner. Mercedes still has a big distance to cover before they can mount a serious challenge against Red Bull for race victories, let alone the World Championship title." Hamilton added, "We've got a lot of work to do just to add rear downforce to the car, and a little bit more efficiency, but we're chipping away. I do believe we will get there at some stage. Max was a little bit gone, but I think our pace is a little bit closer today, so we are going in the right direction." Despite his best efforts, the 7-time world champion couldn't halt Red Bull's undefeated streak at the beginning of the 2023 season. The W14 is undoubtedly inferior to the RB19, which is probably why Hamilton sneakily tried to turn their weakness into strength. Following the race, Verstappen, Alonso, and Hamilton engaged in a thought-provoking conversation in the post-race cooldown room before heading to celebrate on the podium. They started by discussing the circuit's roughness, and in a moment of weakness, Hamilton openly admitted to Verstappen about his difficulties with the low-speed corners. He told him, "We suck in the low-speed corners. Your rear end is insane." Verstappen didn't have an overly strong response to Hamilton's admission, and Hamilton, in turn, was swift to offer praise to Alonso for the impressive performance of his Aston Martin's rear end. Daniel Ricciardo, who currently serves as Red Bull's third driver, shared his thoughts on Hamilton's brief exchange with Verstappen. His theory is that Hamilton opened up about the W14's troubles in hopes of Verstappen giving him information about the RB19 in return. While talking to actor Will Arnett, Ricciardo said, "It's interesting, you know. I see it as Lewis has gone up to him thinking he's vulnerable and might let his guard down and try and get some information about the car and give it back to the team. But Max wasn't giving him too much. It was all very blasé. I've been in those rooms enough times to know you've still got to be on it and not get complacent." Lewis Hamilton has moved past his frustrations regarding Red Bull's remarkable pace, acknowledging that it is highly likely they will emerge victorious in every race this year. At the Canadian Grand Prix, Red Bull extended their winning streak as Max Verstappen secured his 8th consecutive victory, simultaneously equaling Ayrton Senna's record of 41 Formula One race wins. Despite the significant progress made with his B-Spec W14, the 7-time world champion acknowledges that Red Bull is so dominant that there is no use being frustrated about it, as they are likely to outperform their rivals consistently throughout the year. When asked about his frustration over the situation during the post-race press conference, Hamilton candidly expressed to the media that there's little point in dwelling on the matter. He said, "It's not a frustration anymore, if it ever was. It's, you know how it is, and you know what you're faced with, and there's nothing I can do about their amazing performance. It's likely that they will win every race moving forwards this year, unless the Astons and us put a lot more performance on the cars or their car doesn't finish. It's not easy with the regulations to find the amount of performance that they have, advantage-wise. They've got to be 30 points upon us in certain points through the lap, and we've got some work to do." As Hamilton joined his fellow world champions on the podium, he expressed his hope that this could be an indication of what lies ahead, perhaps even leading to a title battle just like the thrilling competition the F1 world witnessed in 2021. He said, "I'm happy to firstly be back in the mix, and I'm just hoping at some stage we can have it all a little bit more level so we can get back to some of the good races we had back in 2021. And to have all three of us in a super tight battle would be sick." Hamilton believes that Mercedes should divert some of their attention away from the current season and prioritize the development of their 2024 Formula One car in order to bridge the gap to Red Bull. As the Mercedes star observed, the Silver Arrows made notable progress with a significant upgrade introduced for the W14 in Monaco, but he emphasized the importance of not getting overly fixated on the current season, as Red Bull may have already shifted their focus towards 2024. He said, "It's been a great weekend. Very difficult with the conditions, but loving being in the car now with the car in a better window and a bit more on the right track. For us to be up there, having battles with Fernando in the Aston, and being on the second row, it's been great. To be on the podium 2 races in a row is really fantastic for us. We were also running 4th in Monaco, so we're definitely getting closer, and it's going to be a battle of development over the rest of the season. I reckon Max's team are already working on next year's car, so we need to take our eye a little bit off the ball and focus on next year also, but happy to be up there." What do you think? Is Mercedes actually catching up to Red Bull, or did Lewis Hamilton just have a lucky week? And what do you think of the 7-time world champion's sly attempt to get a few RB19 secrets out of Verstappen? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell for the hottest F1 news.